Hey, I'm back here in the green screen studio, and I'm gonna give you a tour of what it's like in here, mainly because I need a little help. And what's funny is I'm really kind of obsessed with getting this done right. Even though I don't do a whole lot of work in front of the green screen, when I do it, I want it to look good. And what's funny is I'll tell you the story. The best key I ever got off the screen was when I did the Gandalf thing for what was it, the Ultima review. And that was the day I finally got the key perfect. And I walked out of there vowing I was never going to use that light kit again. And the main reason was the first light kit I ever bought used tungsten lights. 3,000 watts of tungsten lights. And I've talked about this before, but they get very, very hot. So hot, in fact, that it was infeasible to do in this room because right now the room is about 75, 76 degrees, a little bit, and when I turned the lights on, it probably got upwards of about 130, 140 degrees. At least it felt that way to me in costume. So you can imagine wearing a beard and a wig and like a robe like that. I'm from Arizona, so if I tell you it's hot, it was fucking hot. So I did that review. I was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I almost had to go to the hospital when I did the Battlefield Earth thing. When I did Turl, because I was wearing like 2 layers of leather, facial appliances, a wig, and stuff like that. I was feeling so bad, I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt like I had to call for help. That's how bad it was. That's why I couldn't reshoot some of the stuff for Doug. I was just so sick. I made myself ill. Heat stroke, basically. So I was like, I gotta buy a new light kit. So I did that. I bought Cool Flow fluorescent lights, and they're working a lot better. And I'll tell you, I'm actually getting pretty good keys off this thing. But there was one person who said that my screen is looking like it's the wrong color. This is a professional green screen, so it's probably the right color. The main problem is probably the fact that it's not lit perfectly. So I'm going to show you what my setup is like, and I'm going to explain to you why I have things set up the way they are. And then I'm going to ask you if you don't care about green screening, if you're going to troll me and say like you do too much green screening as it is, just turn the video off. You're not going to care about this. I'm just going to show you basically what the studio looks like right now. I'm going to explain to you why things are set up the way they are set up and how they've worked for me so far. And I do some strange things that you're probably going to like, why do you do that? But I'll tell you why. Okay. So, from what I've learned so far, you want to light the screen separately from the talent, the person who's in front of the camera. And so that requires separation. You've got the camera over there, you've got the screen back there, and in the middle there's me. And that sounds obvious, but what I mean is you want the talent as far away from the screen as possible so that they are lit separately from the screen itself. Because what happens is if I stand too close to the screen, you might be able to see it, I cast shadows. And you don't want shadows on your green screen because when you cast shadows, you make the screen a different color. What chroma keying is you're basically pointing at a color on the screen and telling the camera to make that color transparent or replace that color with something else. So when you have one color, when you have pure green, that works great. This is why they choose green, because green doesn't crop up that frequently in normal colors. You know, when people don't normally wear green, people are not green. So like that's why there's not white or red. So you want the screen to be as even as possible, and you do that by lighting it as evenly as possible. And you want the light separate from the talent, because if you have the light, if I stand here in the light, there's a light over here. If I stand in the light, all of a sudden I'm blooming. You know, I'm going supernova because I'm just super white. So I'll show you what I've got right now. This room all told is I'd say about 15 by 12. And the back, you can see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You can see I've basically got a screen tacked to the wall. As it's tacked as taut as possible. I've used thumbtacks. I know some of you are shaking your head like, why would you put so many holes in your wall? This is okay. This will work out. I was actually considering painting this wall a chroma key color, which actually might have been a smarter move. But I had this big screen, and so I was like, why not do it? So I'm going to try to move the camera. I know I'm going to be moving the camera around a lot. Basically, what I've got, hang on. you're seeing my prop closet right now. This right here is a softbox. A softbox diffuses the light and makes it spread out evenly as possible. So that's one light that's currently on the screen, and there's another light that's on the screen. And so I have them as I stand over here. This is part of the problem actually. Is from the camera to over here is about, I'd say, 12 feet. Okay, and so this is kind of a small studio. Probably too small actually for this kind of work, strictly speaking, to do it as well as I'd like anyway. So I don't know if you can tell, but if you look at the screen, it's not perfectly even. I still think it's pretty good. But if you look along the bottom here, it's a little darker. You know, there's going to be shadow, so it's not lit perfectly well. Now, when I zoom in, a lot of that goes away. But even so, there's still some dark areas over here and here. And what I'm looking at right now is the zebra patterns. The zebra pattern basically detects the amount of luminance on the screen. And so there's kind of a circle here where the hot spots of the light are, like right here, where the light is hottest. And right up here and right down here, it's really warm here because the lights are creating spotlights essentially. So there's a little bit of color difference along the top, edges, and bottom that I have been unable to really get rid of. And I'm not sure if there's any way I can fix that. And so that's kind of the problem I'm coming to you right now is I honestly don't know if you can tell about that much about the geography of the room just by looking at, you know, the way I've got it worked out. I could try to show you, I could try to take the camera off the stand here and see if I got enough rope here to show you what's going on. That window I've actually just blocked off with muslin to block off sunlight. That's a window behind there. So if I stand right back up against the wall, you can see there's a softbox there. That's the light that shines on me. There's a fill light down there on the tripod. Those don't contribute. These two don't contribute to the green screen all that much. So there's a light over there. And then, you know, if you go right across, there's a lot of extension cords on the floor. Those are, I'm going to clean this room up, but got a few marks there. So it's basically to the left and right, shining almost right on the screen. Now, from what I've seen of various tutorials online, hang on a second. Most people, when they set their screens up, they try to set up the lights way off to the side, so that they're basically pointing like at each other. The lights are almost pointing at each other, not face onto the screen. That's probably what my main problem is right now, is the fact that these lights are face on. Ideally, what I should probably try to do, hang on a second, is try to back the lights up some. I don't know if that'll work. Because if I back the lights up, I'm probably lighting myself now. Like I tried to back the light up as far against the wall as possible. I tried to back it way up. And I don't know if that's going to work. Let me see the zebra pattern. Yeah, what happens is I make the light less intense. And I don't know if I'm actually making the light more uniform. I don't know. That's part of my problem right now. Is I'm giving up either intensity or evenness. And hang on, I'm going to make sure I got to see if I got this right. I'm trying to make the light as even as possible and also as intense as possible without making it white. Because that's the other problem. What got me in trouble for the longest time when I was using the tungsten lights. I was having really bad keys for the longest time. And it was because I actually bought a DVD that was like an instructional DVD on how to green screen stuff. And the guy was like, I use hard light. I'm like, if you don't know what hard light is, this is basically what hard light is. I'll show you. Like, hang on. This is the key light. This is the light that's on me, okay? And what's on here now is basically a diffusion gel, which is almost the exact same thing as the softbox. The softbox basically puts a sheet in front of the light to to knock it down, make it less intense, to make it less blooming. This is basically like a sheet of acetate or like plastic. That's basically like a foggy white sheet that when you put it over there, it will help spread out the light a little bit, not make it nearly as glaring. And so it almost does the exact same thing, it's just a lot more low tech. And when I take it away, you can see that this is much more intense. There's a reflector inside that channels the light as a spotlight. So you can see it. You can kind of see a difference if I do that versus that. You see how it flares? Basically what this guy was saying on the DVD is like, use this on your screen. And the problem with that is, when you do that, you're basically putting a spotlight on the screen. You're basically, you're making a circle. You know, you're putting this beam of light circular on the screen. And it doesn't work. You know, I was getting really uneven light. I was creating a ton of different colors. Just really bad keys all around, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, it was this miraculous time when I finally discovered, what if I just put a softbox on it, and all of a sudden it worked? You know, it was like they weren't getting great keys, but I was getting way better keys than I was before. So, honestly, I'm kind of at my wit's end. I'm actually getting pretty good keys off this. I have to manipulate a little bit, but part of me kind of wants to be able to just throw this clip in there, turn on the chroma key, and bam, no manipulation on my part, it works. I still have to mess with the levels a little bit, you know, kind of mess with the intensity and the white point and black point. If you've ever messed with I do it in Adobe After Effects, and I use the plugin called Keylight 1.2. Keylight's really good. It works miracles, believe me. But I do have to do a little bit of manipulation, and I'm not sure that this is why I kind of work in a bubble. If I worked with other people in the industry, I would really love to have some guy who's really good at lighting just walk in here and look, see like, what do you know? And just like put the lights where they're supposed to be, because I'm doing this on my own. I'm teaching this stuff on my own, and so like most of my knowledge is gleaned from whatever books I can find, and it's all self-taught. And so I didn't really have a mentor in terms of doing this. So my problem is I know a little bit about everything that goes into the production of this kind of stuff, but I don't know much about anything. You know, that's, if you understand what I'm saying. So jack of all trades, master of none. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me if I'm doing the green screen wrong. Like I said, really all I've got right now is I've got a light on this side, a light on this side, facing right at the screen that isn't lighting me. And so you can see there's the difference being I'm still lit. So you can see that I'm lit separately from the screen, okay? Although the screen is still getting lit. And the difference, I'll give you a little lesson about other various aspects of lighting. You can see that if I turn this light off, I'm not nearly as well lit, and I've actually still got the fill light on. So you can see the screen is still lit, I'm not. The various other types of lighting, this is what goes into I've been self-teaching myself the 3-point lighting system. So you've got the first point, which is the key light, which is the light on me, and you can see that it's kind of an intense light on me. And there's a ratio here. There's a darker shadow on the side of my face. What I'm really working on right now is the fill light. The fill light is just kind of a less intense light that helps, that messes with the ratio a little bit. So I've got this. You can see the shadow is less intense, and so I'm still working on how to work this dynamically to where it's effective and what looks best, depending on the circumstance. And the other light I'm really trying to work on that. Again, the limitations of this studio may not make it feasible to play with this. I'm actually working on getting a boom light, actually like a fifth light. There's another light called the hair light, or the separation light. And the separation light is a light that's basically overhead that shines down on the subject's hair, basically, and makes the subject's hair a little bit different color, highlights a little bit, and makes it pop separately from the screen. And I'll show you what that is. I actually have a hair light, but it's really just the overhead light fixture. And actually, I'm kind of happy with it. Even though it's a different temperature of light than I normally use, it actually is not that bad. I'll show you. Can you see the difference? Can you see like how there's light coming down on my head? And actually, I kind of like it. the way it looks. It's kind of surprising. I'll show you again with it off. Can you like look at the light on my head now? And now it's a lot less. It's a lot flatter. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of like it this way. This is hardly the most professional way of doing it. I understand, because I basically just turned the overhead light on. The light until now was off. I was just using this light kit. I'm actually working on getting a boom that has a fluorescent light, although I maybe just be wasting my time and money. I'm trying to get a complete light kit because I have other projects that I'm working on that I won't have I won't have this light, so my main concern right now with the light here and the light here is I may be hitting myself with too much light, and I'm a white guy, so I may be actually like putting too much light on me, and that's part of my concern is basically I'm using the same lights. Like these are 50-watt fluorescent lights here, like all over 50-watt fluorescent lights, and I don't know if I hit myself with a separation light up here with 50 watts. I don't know if it's going to make me my hair just burst into flames or what. I am looking into. I actually did buy a smaller wattage fluorescent light. I'm thinking if I put a smaller fluorescent light up top, and actually, I may not need the boom after all. I could just put a cooler fluorescent light up there, and it might work. Yeah, I'm actually working on getting a more intense set of lights for here to make these lights about a third more intense without having to mess with the iris. The other thing that I'm working this is how I'm trying to get the color as even as possible is I don't know if this is I'm trying to communicate what my thought process here on this is. There's intensities of light, basically in terms of like f-stops and stuff like that, and I don't know a whole lot about it. But what I can see and you can't see right now is on my screen right there. I can see a zebra pattern, and the zebra pattern tells me how bright something is. And if it's too bright, it'll appear as a zebra pattern. Okay, so it helps you detect whether or not there's light that's too intense for the camera. If you're just washing out color and all that stuff. I have the zebra set to 80%. And most of the screen right now is right around 80-85%. And if I were to automatically set the iris, I had to manually adjust the iris to get it that way. Right now, if I were to show you what the iris is at automatically, it may be a little hard to tell. I just turned it to automatic, which turned it down a little bit. So you may have noticed that the screen got a little less intense. And I'm gonna turn it back the way it was. There. You may have noticed it got a little brighter, and I'm gonna set to automatic again. You see how it got a little darker? I'm basically adjusting the iris so it lets more light in, and that's how I got it to look pretty good. But again, it's not perfect, and I'm just wondering if any of you guys had any experience with lighting a studio this small, or if I'm blowing the problem out of proportion, like if this is a perfect size for you guys, whether or not you think the softbox is the way to go. What I was actually talking about, there's like 3 ways for me to diffuse light right now, and I'm not sure which way is working best. And I guess I could just trial and error until I got the way that worked best. But the 3 ways I've really got that do it are I can diffuse light with a softbox. I can diffuse light by basically putting a gel over it, which is actually I love. That's how I fixed it the first time with the tungsten lights. Was I took a clothespin and I basically clothespin gels over the lights, which spread the light out a lot bit, and which works a lot better than the softboxes, because the softboxes and the tungsten lights were huge. They were like 3 foot across, so I couldn't use the softboxes on the light. Without getting them into the shot, I could have masked them out, but there's another way I've actually found. My original lights came with I don't know if you can see it. I'll take it out. With this kind of like, I think it's like a diffusion. It's like a gobo. That's the way when I took stage crew, we called this a gobo, but I'm not sure that's strictly speaking what this is. When I see this, I think it's called a gobo, but. And it doesn't fit entirely well, but this actually helps diffuse the light quite a lot. And I use that as the fill light because it does tend to, it spreads the light a little bit, gives it a little bit of a pattern, and so it works. So, yeah, I guess I could show you some other stuff in here. I've actually got a bunch of props. Like, I still got the Triforce in the corner down there. The reason for the blue screen, you may think I was overkilling on the blue screen. I had to buy a blue screen because when I was doing the Robo War and Strike Commando thing, where I dress up in the camouflage, I got in front of the green screen in my camouflage, and I was like, wait, I'm wearing green. And actually, it was probably a shade of green that was different enough from the screen. It might have worked, although I might have come out looking gray instead of green. But I was like, fuck it, I gotta get a blue screen. So I got a blue screen. I could have bought a different color camouflage, I guess. That might have been easier. Actually, it probably wouldn't have been cheaper. It probably would have balanced out, but I figure why not get a blue screen? I got another wall. So yeah, and actually the blue screen is probably a little even is probably harder even to light because I can't get the lights off to the sides that well. But I got a good enough key off that one, and really I'm not complaining. The key, like I said, the keys I'm getting are pretty good. I just wonder if there's a way that I can get them done better. So I'm sure there's professionals out there who will tell me everything I'm doing wrong. The one thing I don't need to hear right now is buy a new light kit because I already bought a new light kit. And this kit is actually really good. I'm happy with this light kit so far. Just because I'm not dying right now. I'm in front of the lights. I'm not sweating balls. I'm doing fine. So yeah, I can show you some of the other stuff I got here. Let me see. The gels. If you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to gels, this is what they are. I showed you a light diffusion gel, but gels also come in different light colors. So, like, if you want red light, or there's other. Wow, I didn't even know this one. Check this out. It's all silver. You can't see it too well, but it's all silvery. I wonder what that does. Hang on a second. What is that? 270. Whatever it is, it's fabulous. 270. Lee Scrim. Oh, it's a Scrim. Okay. Yeah, but for instance, this is mainly more used in theatrical lighting, and I've had this for a while. But like blue, okay. Like if I were to put blue over the light, you see what happens. And so gels have various degrees of use. Oftentimes when I've noticed anyway, you'll probably correct me, I've noticed that if you want someone to look blue, you can oftentimes just do this in post, like in editing software, and it's actually better to do that, because if I put a blue gel on the light and I shoot it this way, I'm kind of committed, like I can't change this, I'm blue, you know. So if I can do this, I can just kind of tint myself blue, you understand? Otherwise, I am now officially blue for now and ever, you know. So... But that's why you have these things. For a demonstration of how I actually didn't use these, how I shot normally and made it look differently. When I did the Ultima 1, the one where I find the weapons, I see the sign, I think it's Ultima 1, where I see the sign, I pick up all the weapons, that looks like it's done at night. I shot that day for night, actually. Just like now, I shot that day for night, and I just tinted everything blue. You know, so I did a bunch. I killed a bunch of the colors, and that was After Effects at work. I'm actually very proud of that series of effects because that was a lot of After Effects stuff at work, crushing the colors, bringing the shadows up, making it day for night, making it look very blue. I like the way that looks. That was good stuff. After Effects did a lot to make the Gandalf scene look as good as it did, because I tinted everything very intensely red, because I was in Moria. I was at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and so it was all very red. I added a film grain. I actually added a bunch of like dust particle effects from stock footage. If you watch that scene, actually go frame by frame, you can see there's a lot going on there. Especially when the shot I'm actually proudest of in that scene is when the Balrog breathes, like it's like oh like that, and you can see Gandalf go, oh, and you see smoke and like dust coming down. That was actually very difficult to do, and I'm proud of how that came out, because what that was stock footage. That was stock footage of dust falling down, and I made it bigger, and I sped it up a little bit, so it looked really good. I'm proud of that. So I'm not sure what else I can show you. I can show you that the lights being on. I can't show you them in action that well. I can't show you here. Yeah, hang on. I'll show you what I'm working with right now. What this is this is a cool flow light. Cool flow meaning it doesn't require any fans, and it doesn't really generate that much heat on its own, because being a fluorescent light, it just runs cool. That's why they call it cool flow. It's actually a very simple affair here. This is really just a light socket. I mean, this thing cost me all told like $20. This is a reflector. The reflector itself, each portion you see is about like a $20 add-on. So the reflector itself, it basically focuses the light like a flashlight. And this is barn doors. Barn doors allow you to control the flow of light. So if I want to spread the light out even more, I can open the barn doors. And the barn doors also allow me to put gels in and stuff like that. I can hang a gel off this hook or something like that. It's probably not what you actually use the hook for, but I do. So it's got a tripod. And I have all of them tied into this power strip, which I couldn't do before. The tungsten lights I was using before were 1,000 watt lights, and so you can't, or I don't think you can actually tie that many lights into one house circuit. 3,000 watts, and that was like the bare minimum light kit was 3,000 watts. You cannot dump 3,000 watts on like one house circuit. So I was running extension cords all over the house, trying to spread it out between the circuits, so I wasn't going to blow up anything and blow any fuses, because that would have sucked. Probably would have damaged the lights as well. The lights themselves you have to order these from the company, actually, because these aren't your standard like store-bought light fluorescent lights. These are 50 watt lights. They come at a lot of different intensities, and that's actually what I'm going to experiment with next. Is especially for the light on me, I don't need that much intense light, I think. So I'm actually working on getting like 40 watt lights, and for the screen over here, I'm working on getting like 80 watt lights, which are 80 over 50, whatever that ratio is, probably like a third or a little more than a third more. So if you're curious what light kit I'm using, it's called Britek, Britek. Honestly, I did not get that much of an expensive kit. It was expensive. It was about $300 all told for the three lights you see here. Each light is about $100. Just for the tripod light, the light bulb itself, the barn doors, all that. And so if you're serious into getting into green screening, and I'm trying to get serious about it, that's why I'm talking to you guys, is I'm trying my best to improve, and I know that there's a lot of room for improvement. I'm just trying to get it as good as possible. But if you're serious about green screening, it's a sizable investment. It takes some doing. There are cheaper alternatives if you're willing to sacrifice quality. Like I know a lot of people for a long time used. You can get like halogen work lights from Home Depot that are like they're basically like little squat lights about 3 feet tall, about waist high, that have 2 lights on them. And I've seen people light green screens with those to a lot of success, actually. Yeah, it seems to work okay. And again, I may be radically overcomplicating what I'm doing here. But I really like when people saw the Gandalf thing, it was like, that was an awesome job of chroma key. I was very proud of that. So that was good. I want to get more of that. I want people to like see what I do and be like, that was really good. So if you guys have a setup that you find would work better, like if you think, honestly, I don't know what else to do to make it even better. This is pretty much the result of like 2 days of getting it as good as possible. I know it seems silly, like put the light here, light the screen, but I don't know. It's a lot of fine tuning, manipulating the camera settings to try to get the light as even as possible and bright enough to where you get a good consistent key. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I wish I could more accurately show you the room geography so you'd know what kind of space you're dealing with. You know what? I'm actually going to try to pick the camera up and try to kind of pan around the room and show you what the light situation looks like, and maybe you can just, I don't know, if you get any use out of it, just you let me know. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I actually kicked the power cord out, so I don't know if I lost any of the data. This is as far back as I can get, and so I know there's a lot of cords in the room. I know it's kind of a mess, but just bear with me. You can see up against the wall. You can see where I've got the lights set up generally, and you can see, the tripod is really not that far off from the lights. I stand in the middle of the room essentially, and you're looking right on at the lights. They're basically pointed right on at the screen. So that's the best I can do. If you guys have any input, I'm all ears. Guys, and don't complain that this was not an exciting video, because I'm working on reviews right now. This is what I'm doing. I'm working on stuff right now. So I hope you'll bear with me and just take this as try to learn something. I'm trying to learn something. So this is me sharing. So you guys enjoy. Have fun.